Come back from the parade?
It's tomorrow.
Wow, they don't mess around.
No, it's gonna be tomorrow through Sunday probably.
Wow.
Probably the whole weekend.
I think you have Matthew Broderick there, just for the old time's sake. We're going right?
Yeah, you're live whenever you're ready.
Hi everybody, Dr. Howard Cohn here at the Cohn Health Institute with Dr. Charlie Fagenholz, and we are excited because we are doing this segment of the Go Beyond Summit, and Dr. Charlie is a phenom at the Cohn Health Institute and beyond. His background is amazing. There are so many different certifications and things that he's done at such a young age. I've been around this industry a very long time, and I'll meet people that are experts in the field and that practice for 10, 20, 30 years and still don't have all the certs that this guy has. And to watch him work with patients is phenomenal, and to see the kind of changes that he makes with his patients is really what this summit is all about. So, Dr. Charlie, give us a little background. I know there's a lot. We can take up the whole 45 minutes just going over everything you've done so far. Talk us a little bit about your background, how you came to what you're doing here.
Sure. So, hi everybody. I'm from Chicago, Illinois originally. Grew up and I was your stereotypical sick every week, chronic problems. I was at the doctor's office at least once a month. I've had so many things that I can go on about, but I don't want to bore you with that. And really, it was time, it was just enough. And I went to chiropractic school. A chiropractor helped me through some basketball injuries. Didn't know, what was really possible in that realm until later in life. The universe acts in weird ways, right? So went to chiropractic school and started practicing with a buddy of mine who was a year ahead of me. And he started doing this muscle testing stuff to me, and he was asking me if I was interested in it, and it was really foreign to me. So at first, when something's foreign, it's kind of uncomfortable for you. So I was kind of like, I'm not that interested. Then I let him treat me, and it was the best. I treated me for about 20 minutes. It was the best I've ever felt my whole life. I was 23 years old at the time, and that was that light bulb moment where as soon as I felt that, I knew this is what people in this world need. And that really put me on a journey that I would have never predicted, and it's been the best journey of my life.
So you started with being a patient, obviously having good chronic health challenges growing up, and always been into athletic sports, basketball, other sports.
That's right, basketball mainly, but volleyball, football, baseball.
Cubs,
right?
It is the year.
Champs.
It is the year.
That's right.
That's right at this filming. So, so walk me through this whole thing. Now, when people look at the kinesiology world, there's a vast amount of different techniques that are done to help people with advance their human performance. But you also do some really neat things that we haven't seen anyone else in this summit do. Things that are old school arts, dating all the way back to beyond Bernard Jensen, even back to the days in Germany of iridology and sclerology. And sometimes people see a chart, they know that their whole body's represented on their sclera and their iris of their eye, but they might have seen it at a health show, a health fair, but they never seen it really applied to the athlete.
Exactly.
What are you looking for when you're looking at your athletes?
Sure. So the first thing I do on everybody is look at physical markers, and that's your fingernails, your tongue, and your eyes. Now, I'm very interested in a lot of things, and most people who know me know that I'm a seminar junkie. And I like to just sit there and just learn any little clinical pearl that I can and kind of put together a toolbox that would be like the most in-depth look at somebody. So athlete would be a perfect example. And it's not limited to athletes, but athletes obviously are a huge portion that benefit from this. And you mentioned iridology and sclerology. And those are the study of your eyes. The sclera is the white and the iris is the color. Now, there's sayings that say the eyes are the windows into the body, and there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of people will look at that like, oh, that's kind of too out there for me or whatnot, but the eye has a direct correlation into the brain because the nerve from the brain goes directly into the eye, cranial nerve too. So a lot of people say that you can see things years before they manifest. It's really, the whole thing that really jumped out for me is it's better to stay well than to get well, and that allowed me to ask a certain question. All of us use kinesiology, we use muscle testing, and if you're not asking the right question, then how good can you be, right? So when I saw the eyes, some of the stuff, when someone read my eyes, I was blown away. They told me about my mental states, my emotional health. I twisted an ankle, like you have a left ankle problem, things that I was like, there's no way you're guessing this. It's way too spot on. They're even saying the time frames that happened. And so I really set out to get a diplomate in iridology because that was something that I believe that people needed. So you know, like I started off saying, it's better to stay well than to get well. You know, say athlete comes in and they want to prevent injuries. Well, injuries can be prevented in many ways, but if you see that there's some kind of inherent weakness, so to speak, you want to go to those places first. So say I look in the eye and there's some kind of hip issue. Well, these days athletes, you know, if their hips aren't working, most athletes can't perform. So instead of waiting for it to happen, why not find out why the hip isn't where it needs to be and kind of prevent it from going through? So it's been huge. I mean, it's been a huge advantage to treating all types of patients, especially athletes.
Well, definitely, and a lot of times people don't realize, you know, you'll watch somebody, like, as you know, an athlete get an injury, and you've seen them get hit like that. If, let's say it's a football player, he's gonna get hit like that 10 times. Like, how did that injure them? And it always is, when you look at it, if we had looked at those certain markers, those markers were there before to let them know that they were set up to do it. That's pretty much kind of what you're saying.
That's
there, right?
Yeah.
And you can even see those in the eye.
Absolutely.
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 And,
the sclera is more of the physical body, where the iris is more of the chemical internal body. So together, I think they go really well together.
And then in the next step, and I know we're going to demo on somebody shortly, but how you apply it. When you apply kinesiology, you talked about that as the foundation, and then these different other techniques that you've kind of sprouted into. There's CRA, there's TBM, there's NET, there's quantum neurology, and I know that throughout this program we're going to have different people highlight maybe some QN, quantum neurology, maybe some NET, neuroemotional technique, but CRA and TBM, tell us about those, because again, just in my experience, I've seen it used on the chronically ill, I've seen it used on people that have been everywhere, done anything, no one's helped them. How about athletic and human performance?
Sure. So we started off with CRA, so I'll start there. Contact reflex analysis is a profound technique in just dealing with the body from a whole perspective. That's structural, chemical, and emotional. And a lot of times athletes are so focused on just the structural, somewhat the chemical, right? But then there's the emotional aspect. So CRA kind of highlights the priorities of the body, and it allows the body to show you what it wants dealt with in what order, which is just as important as identifying it. So on top of that, TBM, total body modification, has these little clinical pearls for patients. Like, one thing's called cardiac low back is a perfect example. People have low back pain all the time, especially athletes, and they'll have physical therapy, they can have surgery, they can do whatever it is. But cardiac low back is something that I've seen help athletes time in and time again. Cardiac low back is a subclinical heart thing, whether it's not enough oxygen to the tissue, things like that. And it allows you to really tap in to ask the certain question to identify it, and then if you can find it, you can fix it. So TBM has a lot of clinical pearls like that to help patients recover quicker and remove those roadblocks so they can get to peak performance.
That's awesome. Now, you had mentioned physical, nutritional, emotional, and I know a lot of our different docs, especially here at the Cone Health Institute, have that broad spectrum look at an athlete. So walk us through some of that. I know physical, a lot of times it's the quantum neurology, the biochemical. It's not just what we're deficient in. Everyone's worried, what do I need to perform, but what do I need to take? But it's also what we are toxic in, and I know that you spent a lot of time in the world of showing athletes how infectious agents like bacteria, fungus, yeast, parasites, things like that, that we just assume are things of the sick, are affecting everybody, allergies as well, and then the emotional side with NET. So you can just kind of, again, we're going to demo this, so picture's worth 1,000 words, but if you can kind of walk us through conceptually those three things.
Sure. So structurally, we're going to talk a little bit about QN, quantum neurology, and we have Dr. George who would be on this. So make sure you tune into him. He's the master, he's the starter of it all. But clinical pearls from there, chiropractors since day one have been adjusting people. And his whole thing was that nerves can be the thing that really is the cause of more so than the bone. And that is taking the nerve to the muscle relationship and turning that on, and then taking it a step further and putting you through your daily activities, whether it's a pitcher throwing it, quarterback throwing it, someone running, a golf swing, a volleyball spike, and you doing that, it's seeing where your nervous system breaks down and then basically rehabbing that nerve into, okay, I'm congruent with this movement now. Now, furthermore, then we talked about NET, and I think you'll be talking about NET, possibly.
Probably.
Yeah. NET is, neuroemotional technique. how many times has someone said that the game is 80% mental, 20% physical? You know, you hear that all the time. And there's a lot of truth to that, because a lot of us carry around this baggage, this subconscious baggage of emotions that are limiting us on the physical level. And NET allows you to tap into that and find out where it really started, and why in the crunch time of the game, why is that person not performing the way? Are they getting in their own head? A lot of people say that you have to defeat yourself instead of your opponent, essentially. And NET allows you to overcome any type of blocks within you. Mm-hmm. Now, chemically, you talk about infectious agents. Mm-hmm. Now, George Goodhart, may he rest in peace, one of all of our mentors, started applied kinesiology, and he came up with organ-muscle relationships. And you know, it sounds out there, but it's really not, because the nerves go to the organs, go to the muscles as well. And so say someone has a knee problem, you know, in this world, knee problems are adrenal issues. Adrenals are your hydration, your cortisol, you know, all that. And say that those aren't functioning, the muscle's going to shut off, even if you rehab it structurally, even if you can do an emotion on it. If there's a chemical deficiency there, then you need to get the adrenals working. Now, we talked about excess. Mm-hmm. In a world full of toxins, poisons, you know, we're eating this gluten, this dairy, this genetically modified stuff. People are eating so much sugar that just inflames the GI tract. People are eating a crazy amount of sushi. We have pets that can transmit bacteria and all that. So we are prone to getting all these type of subclinical infections. You know, if you miss that, that is a huge thing to miss. And you need to fine-tune, you need to get it out of the body, you need to fine-tune it, get the muscles working properly, get the organs functioning properly, so the nerves start doing their thing, and it all comes together, painting that picture for the patient.
So another thing, just to highlight, maybe you can tell us some stories of actual patients that have had this. I know that you know, we have to really look at people in their environment, and we've all seen, let's say, the patient who's a baseball player or a football player or a golfer. And those fields aren't naturally that beautiful and manicured. They are tended to. And one of the things that keeps it so green are things like pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, all these different kinds of toxic chemicals, where these players have their face, their hand, their sweat in these all day. And we'll have people come in where they'll have different biomechanical issues that they think are really structural problems for injuries, where they turn out to be toxic overload of a circuit that might shut my shoulder off because of a liver, or you know, shut my knee off because of like the adrenals, like you said. Talk to us a little bit about that, because even it's not just infections, it's even the toxic chemical part that people, they never even thought about it. That's just one. It's swimmers with the chlorine toxicity, and we can go on and on. Yeah. So I know you got some good stories. Maybe you know the stories.
I got a good one that pops up. So soccer player, she came in about a month and a half ago, and she came in with chronic left hip pain. And she was doing PT, she's been to a chiropractor. She came in here, she was referred in to see us. And first visit, you know, I balanced the muscles of the pelvis, you know, the hip flexor, the glutes and all that. She comes out, she says, yeah, I feel better, I feel more stable, but every time I get on the soccer field, within the first 10 minutes it comes back. So then I'm thinking, okay, so she's on a soccer field, they're treated with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, all that kind of stuff. And her muscles, the same ones I fixed a week earlier, were all back to being weak. And the next thing I checked was something called the allergy point from NET. And sure enough, when she touched the allergy point, all her muscles turned on. Now, that tells me that there's some type of allergy in her body that's kind of short-circuiting her nervous system, shutting off her pelvis muscles. Then she can't perform, she's getting pain. So she tested for a homeopathic, called allergy spray. And it was something she was breathing in, which was probably herbicides, fungicides, pesticides. And as soon as she went on that, she literally was pain-free. Her performance just boosted. That was one of the miracle stories that people hear about. And she should be forever grateful for that.
So that's awesome. I know you have lots more, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to segue a little bit, because I know we could talk about it forever, but if you haven't seen it done, and again, you got to get in to see this guy. I know you have to see remote patients, and people send you pictures of their eyes and all kinds of stuff, and there's some things that can be done virtually, but I know the Cone Health Institute where you're at is right on the runway, the Orange County Airport,
right next
flying in all the time, so definitely come out to Costa Mesa, schedule an appointment with Dr. Charlie, but he's going to walk you through what it actually looks like to take a patient through where they're at when they come in, to just an example of some of the many things. If we really looked at detailed everything, this thing would be 5 hours long. So
Yeah.
we're going to kind of give you the editorial kind of version of what a treatment and what an exam may look like. So we'll be right back at you.
Nailed it.
Dude, you guys are
That was good.